back, guys, to this episode of the podcast. Today's episode is all about making the decision, the key pivotal decision to be a businessman. There comes a point for anyone in construction, typically 9 times out of 10, people either start on the tools or have been associated with doing the physical side of work and then entering the realms and the world of being a businessman. And there is a massive line right in the middle. And at some point you reach that point where you put both your feet on one side of the ground and you go, I am a businessman. I am going to be a businessman and not a worker, a dog's body, if you like, and just doing the fucking day-to-day shit that has to be done. You have to just go, right, I am now going to be a businessman going forward and make that decision. It's the most pivotal decision you will make. And once you make it and you get crystal clear about that in your own head of going, who actually are you? Are you an operator or are you a businessman? Then everything else just becomes a hell of a lot easier, and it's a massively pivotal decision. And I know from myself, I had this revelation, this decision myself of going, right, what am I going to be doing? When you're working physically yourself, when you're trying to juggle all the jobs in your head, you're organising labour, you're ordering materials, you're doing everything. You're seeing customers late at night, but you're still physically doing work yourself in the day, and then getting involved in day-to-day stuff of physicality, doing shit. There comes a point when you have to go, what do I want out of this? Where do I actually want to be? Do I want to be doing this for the rest of my life, or do I want to be a businessman? So this is what this topic is all about. This episode will all be about making that decision and some of the things that I believe makes a good businessman. So if you're in that transition period, maybe you're sort of halfway there, you're doing a bit of both, you're still doing a bit of work, but you're halfway there being a businessman, or maybe you're still doing all of the work and you're trying to reach a point of a way out of how do you get out and be a businessman. This episode is for you. So everyone reaches this point. All of the friends that I've got successful construction businesses as well, and things they've done, they reached a point where they had to just decide. And change comes from making a decision. Any change that you want to make in your life, whether it's this decision or not to be a businessman, whether you want to get in shape or whether you want to get in a new relationship or you're going to have kids, it starts with a decision of, this is what I want to do. And you have to start with that and be crystal clear in your own head and be basically decisive and not fucking around going, well, I do like doing a bit of this, but maybe we'll do a bit of this and a bit of that. You have to decide firmly, this is what you are going to do, and make that decision. And it will be the most pivotal decision you will make. If you make it, you've got to level up. You're going to have to adapt. You are going to have to learn a lot of stuff that you don't even know that you don't know yet. You are basically going to have to go back to school. Everyone's learnt their trade and their craft from years and years of experience and time, college courses or learning from other people like I did. I just learnt from other people teaching me stuff from a very young age, like 13. There's a lot of years there. You get good at a trade and you get good at a craft because you've done it for a long time and you've perfected it. You know the shortcuts, you know what to do, you know what not to do. You know the best ways, the best practices of doing your job and your skill and your trade, if you like, because you've done it for a long time. But then the moment you make that decision to be a businessman, there is no way on hell that you're going to be, on earth, that you're going to be really good at business from the very minute you decide to own a business and be a business person. There's a lot to it. There's a hell of a lot more to it, running a business, than just doing your trade. That's very easy. You are what you are. If you're a carpentry business, if you're a plumbing business, you're an air conditioning business, you're a roofing business, the trade is the trade. You know it. But business has got a lot of big areas that get one slightly wrong and you're fucked. You're out of the game. You don't collect your 200, you don't pass go, and you're fucked. You're out of business, you go to jail. Hopefully you won't go to jail, that would be the absolute worst case, but you get what I'm saying. The game is not as simple as that. So you have to learn the rules of the game and you have to get good at the game of being a good businessman. But get it right and it all works in your favor. You'll achieve massive levels of success, way higher than just being the tradesman mentality. But if you don't make this decision, you'll always be that person who's juggling all the balls and basically being a jack of all trades but a master of none. Trying to do it all yourself and trying to do the physical jobs, running around like a fucking headless chicken, that has got a lifespan on it. And if you're in that position now, be aware of this. It's got a lifespan. No one can do that long term forever. This is why people end up getting massively overweight, getting really stressed out, relationships break down, marriages fall apart, because you're doing it all and you're just being a clown basically. And I say this all the time. Trades say this all the time. If you've got a plumber who starts then doing a bit of carpentry work, you slag that plumber off and you go, oh, you're a fucking jack of all trades, master of none. He's shit. He's a multi-trade. Multi-trades have got bad names for themselves in the industry because they're not just specific at what they do. One really good at one trade. But apply that to business, and people automatically go, right, I'm a business owner now, and they try and be an expert in accounting, in pricing, in finances, in raising good debt versus bad debt, in project management, organising jobs, hiring people, sacking people, all the HR problems that come with that, the IT infrastructure needed to run a business, the systems, the processes, developing bigger teams, marketing, the sales strategy, the all the little details of all the systems and everything you've got running in a business. You're not going to be an expert in that as you just start. So you have to, you've got a long road to go once you start to become a businessman, but do it for 5 years and get good at each bit as you go. And it's skills that'll be with you for a lifetime. You can do business for the rest of your life. Whereas working physically, there's a shelf limit and there's a ticking time bomb on that. But you can be in business for the rest of your life to whatever scale you want to be and to whatever level you want to be and whatever input you want to be. It's a broad field that just pays for a long time. So what makes a good businessman? Now, in my opinion, what makes a good businessman and what makes me good at business and what I do, I believe is number one, knowledge. You have to have knowledge in a particular field. So you're going to have to get educated and get around people that are better than you, more experienced, more advanced, and just basically done more shit. You've got to go back to school and learn from people in business and develop relationships with people in business that you spend your time with. You stop spending your time with the tradesman people, the worker mentality, and you start spending your time with other business people. Because you get around the right people, you're going to start sucking up and learning from other people, whether it's different industries as well. You can learn what applies, what works, the basic fundamentals of business. You've got to just expand your knowledge. You've always got to be learning all the time. I still read books all the time. I'm always looking at other stuff. I'm always still part of mentorship groups and coaching groups of other people ahead of me, because I never ever want to stop learning, and you just don't. In business, you never ever stop learning. So that knowledge bank is basically the foundation of business. You've got to know what you're talking about. In the business you're in, you need to know your business like better than anyone else, and how it works, how it operates, all the numbers within it, what every single person does in that business. You've got to have the knowledge of what you should be doing, how to do it, and how to do it the best way so that you're competitive advantage against everyone else, because you're just better because you've got the knowledge. Number two, you need the experience. I think businesses always fall down. I've experienced a lot when people take businesses over and they don't really know what they're doing. They've not really got the experience of that industry, that field. They're trying to apply broader business principles and examples to an industry that's completely different. You've got to be experienced in the industry. You know the nuances of the labour. You know the nuances of actually physically doing the works on site. It's a great foundation. If you've done the work yourself on site, you know how long things take. You know how lads work. You know how the game works. It's going to make you a better businessman because you get it from their point of view. The clash always comes when people are too far business orientated, but not actually reality orientated of what actually happens on site. There's a trade-off. There's a mix of the two. So that look at it as your groundwork of working on site. That does give you the groundwork, exactly that, of knowing, right, how shit actually works on site. You get it, you understand the game, you understand how it works for clients. Then you need to just flip that into the business side and have both work together. So experience is absolutely fundamental. You can't lie or cheat. Experience, if you've done stuff, you understand what you're talking about, that experience will just pay you for the rest of your life. You have to be experienced in the business you're doing. Number three, you've got to bring a shitload of ambition, drive, and basically passion, because there's going to be loads of times when shit's going to hit the fan and you can't be asked. It's fucking hard. It's brutal. It will kick you in the balls a lot of times. So you've got to have the ambition level way above that you're willing to push through the tough times, and you're really hungry and driven for it. One thing that you can't give people is ambition and drive and passion. No one's going to do that for you. If you haven't got that, don't set yourself targets because you think you should do them, or set yourself goals because you've seen other people do them. If you genuinely don't have ambition and drive, don't go into business. You have to be an incredibly driven person and ambitious to get to the next level, because otherwise it's just not worth it. It's not worth the hassle and the ag that you're going to have to go through. And no one can provide that for you. A lot of people look at this. I've had a lot of people try and talk to me and ask to help and go, how do I do this and how do I do that? And I question about their ambition level and their drive level. If it's not there, I can't help you. The best knowledge in the world can't help someone who hasn't got the actual spunk and the drive to actually go and do it themselves and get to work. And it's only ambition and drive that's going to have that, paired with the passion that you care about it. You care about the business, you care about how you're presented to the marketplace, you care about the work you do. You can't instill ambition, drive and passion to people. So you have to have that. Without that, it's not going to go anywhere. That business is just going to barely tick over and it's never going to be a great success. And then number 4, a good businessman, especially in today's day and age, you have to understand and know marketing. You have to be really good at marketing your business and getting your name out there. Marketing is basically just being known. It doesn't have to be jazzed up as being an expert on TikTok or jazzed up as being an expert on Instagram. It's being known to your ideal client base. If you can't market your business, you can't market yourself and open doors, you're never going to have a great business. You have to do that. No one's going to do that for you ever again as well. Yes, there are marketing agencies out there that you can pay a lot of money for, but if you don't understand marketing yourself, you're going to get taken for a ride all of the time. You've got to be a great marketer of the business, because that is what opens up the door to sales. You need sales to make money. You don't make any money unless you've got jobs physically coming in and repeat work. And this is what holds people back a lot of time from recruiting more staff in the office and getting bigger. It's because you don't know how to acquire customers. If you don't know that bit, that base level of getting new customers and keeping customers, repeating customers, referral from customers, building that marketing machine. If you can't do that, you're not going to be a good businessman. You have to just bring customers to the door. That is the art of good business, is getting people to do business with you. You've got to be a great marketer. You've got to understand it in this day and age as well. You've got to really understand what promotion is all about. You've got to understand what influence is all about in the marketplace and being known as a brand. If you don't understand what's available to these days, the next 5-10 years is going to be really difficult for you. And they're the businesses that are going to get eaten up and get swallowed up. They're the businesses that are going to close their doors. If you don't understand this modern world of marketing, think about it. The next generation's coming through. They have come through a world of watching YouTube from a very young age. They've come from a world of having a phone in their hand. It's not like 10, 15, 20 years ago where it was purely on reputation of people know who you are because you're the local person for it. People now are way more biased by online relationships, presence, your website, YouTube channels, whatever it's going to be for the type of clients you've got. You have to get ahead now and know what's available to you and use it to your advantage. So you're future-proofing the business for the next 5-10 years. If you don't understand this modern world of marketing, you are going to get your bum bitten massively. Next one, you have to be good at sales and closing the deals. Once you've got the marketing there working, you've got to be very good at meeting the clients, being very good at the customer-facing operational and getting them to say yes, basically, because nothing happens. You can price as much jobs as you like. You can create as many opportunities as you like. If you can't close them down and get yeses, handshakes, money transacted and deposits paid, purchase orders raised, whatever the business you're in, you've got to be good at that and closing that down and getting good at sales. So you need to learn about sales. You've got to, again, this goes back to step 1 of knowledge. You need to be learning about marketing all the time. You need to be learning about sales all the time and just getting ahead and getting that edge, because I guarantee you as well, most businesses are owned by lazy business owners that aren't willing to learn. They're not going home at the end of the day thinking, I'm going to learn about marketing tonight. I'm going to learn a bit more about modern sales tonight, because all they're focused on is the actual day-to-day delivery, doing the work. Again, this is the transition of being a businessman. These are your pastimes now. These are your hobbies, is learning how do you get more customers. That should be at the forefront of your mind all the time. Even if you've got enough customers now, you should be having this is, again, comes back to the ambition of drive of like, how do we get more customers? How do we get more? How do we get more better clients? How do we get more of the higher paying clients? How do we get more of the bigger jobs? These are your hobbies now. It's an all-in activity being a businessman. You do it 1,000,000% all of the time. I never ever shut off. I can go anywhere and I'm still thinking about business all the time. I'm looking at how someone else is getting customers. I'm looking at how someone else is marketing, what's working for them, what's good, what's not. All the time, it doesn't stop. I mean, even down to like when you're getting served dinner in a restaurant, I'm going how good they're doing it, how the staff are working together, everyone's on the ball. If you're a businessman, you're a businessman, and you just look at everything through that lens of going, how are they doing it? What works? What doesn't? It's just got to be that. But these have got to be your hobbies now. This is what you sign up for. Being in business, you take the responsibility of fueling that business with enough marketing, enough leads and inquiries, and then you fuel it with enough ability to sell those inquiries to get the jobs in and say yes, and that keeps the circle going for your tradespeople, for your office staff, and the whole world just keeps moving. Number 6, you need to have a fucking load of grit. You need to have a load of just grit to bear it, just to deal with it and handle it. Like you've got to have that determination and just dogged like attitude of going, we'll get through this. We'll get through this particular problem we're going through now, this challenge we've got, this growth problem. Customer hasn't paid you on time. You need more work at certain periods. You've got labour standing around on jobs and you need to put them on other jobs. It's going to cost you money. You need the grit to be able to handle it and deal with it. Now, if you're someone who loses their shit over the tiniest thing, something so insignificant throws you off kilter, like a parking fine on your car, or a delivery being late, or someone letting you down. If that makes you wobble and you haven't got the grit just to take everything off, water's off a duck's back. If you can't do that, you haven't got the grit to do that, you're not going to make a good businessman. You have got to have to learn to be able to deal with so many things going not how you want them to go, and just pushing through it and just having the grit and that determination to go, it'll work out, it'll be fine. And I've now got myself to a point where something major can pretty much happen and I don't really react to it, because you just build up grit and you just get used to it. You just get used to shit going wrong all the time. It's just what business is. It's just organised chaos a lot of the time. And if you're someone that's just like so easily reactive, like someone overtakes you or cuts you up or beeps a horn at you and you flip off, like you just haven't got the grit to deal with it. Like you need to be able to get yourself in a position of a business person of just, whatever, I don't care. Right, let's just carry on, let's move on, let's crack on. Let's just get on with it. Let's get on with the task at hand and not being an emotionally reactive person. You've got to have a lot of grit. Number 7, you need 2 big swinging balls between your legs to do well in business. You have to sometimes, well, a lot of the time, you have to put your balls on the line and make decisions. Leaders have to make decisions when you don't know all the answers. Again, this is what it is. You signed up to be in business. Sometimes you might not know what to do. You might not know what to do for the best. You might be worried, but you have to make decisions and put your balls on the line and just trust your gut, trust your experience, trust your knowledge, trust your, asking other people for their opinion and getting good at that. And ultimately just going, do you know what, let's just do it this way. Let's do it this way. Let's do it like this. I think we should do it this way. I think we should go in this direction. You've got to have a set of balls and just make decisions, because the cost of indecision is everything. It will cost you absolutely everything. Sometimes you are better off making the wrong decision and learning that straight away and then altering the course and then making the right decision rather than not making any decision. You've got to be decisive. You've got to have balls. You've got to just go after things, and that will make you a better businessman, because the bad decisions make you a better businessman anyway. You learn from them and you go, fucking hell, I fucked that up. I've done loads of them. I've done millions of them. And I still will. I will still make a lot of bad decisions, because you just don't know. If you're going into new territories all the time, there's going to be an element of the unknown all of the time. But it's having the balls and being willing to make those bad decisions and wipe your mouth if you did. And if you got it right, equally recognise that as well and go, yeah, put the balls on the line. We made it happen. We did it. And it's cool. And that just goes back to that previous point of grit and being able to do that, of just being able to put your balls on the line. You're willing to maybe look a bit stupid. You're willing to get it wrong. You're willing for people to maybe make comments or say, oh, you fucked that up or you did this wrong. Who cares? Who really cares? Because all it comes down to is what you want, where you want the business to go, how much money you want to make, the lifestyle you want, the level of lifestyle you provide for your friends, your family and people around you. If you're 1,000,000% just screwed onto that and you're willing to do whatever it takes, who cares? You've got to have the balls to go after it. And like I say, the grit to just fucking push through and get on with it. Number 8, you need to be commercially savvy to be a good businessman. You can be the nicest guy in the world. You can market the business. You can sell people on it. You can have the balls to do stuff. But if you haven't got commercial intellect in your corner of the numbers, the inner workings of the business, does it make financial sense? Is it commercially viable to make decisions? You need to be very good at that, because that is going to be your North Star in business. Like, it's always going to come back to, really, does it make commercial sense to do this decision? Does it make commercial sense to take this job on? Does it make commercial sense to take this member of staff on, especially when you're taking on members of staff in the office who are a direct overhead cost and they might be on big salaries? It's always got to come back to the commercial makeup of that. Of going, well, if we do this, if we spend X, what's our return on investment? How long is that return on investment going to take? What's the payback period to that? If you take on debt to a business for things like plant or property. What rates are you taking that debt on for? What's the payback period for that? And what impact is that going to have on the business longer term? If you're leasing stuff, what's the impact of that? Are you going to be better off buying it instead because it's going to work out cheaper longer term? You need to be looking at the numbers in every financial decision all the time and looking at just zeros and ones on a screen. A spreadsheet does not lie. It will always give you the answers and the results, because you can have a gut feel going, I think we should go into this market. I think we should start doing this. And I do this a lot of the time. The curse for an entrepreneur is shiny penny stuff all the time. I keep a list on my phone of just all the shiny ideas that I get out from my head, and I keep a note of them. And the ones that you really want to pursue, you've then got to look at that idea and go, yes, you might be really passionate about it, you really might want to do this, but what's the numbers and what's it really going to cost to do? Because everyone underestimates how long it's going to take to do something. Everyone underestimates how much it's going to cost to do something as well, especially when it's new. If it's a new market you're going into, or it's a new thing, you are not going to have the experience to know that. So you've really got to understand it and work out the numbers properly and speak to someone that's done what you're trying to do and get honest, decent advice, and actually look at the firm numbers and go, how is this actually going to look on paper? What's our buyback period on this? And what's our return rate on this? And this is what you're looking at in business all the time, is be commercial first and then emotionally second. I think when you can be a bad businessman by just trying to do so many different things at once, but they don't actually make financial sense to do. You've got to know all this. And I've done loads of podcasts on this before. You can look back at previous episodes if you're new to this podcast, on things like KPIs that you need to know in a business, and specifically to the construction industry. All of the things from your gross margins, your net margins, your cost to acquire customers, your lifetime client value. Big, meaty, solid, substantial numbers like this, you have to be very, very commercially aware. And that would be my thing to you guys looking in and looking back at what I did. If I would have learned more about the commercial side of things way before I started in business, I'd be in a better place than I am now, because you understand business way more by numbers rather than just shoveling shit and getting on with it and making your way as you go, and you're making your mistakes and throwing figures at stuff and just winging it. If you can get commercially aware from the start, and this is where I actually flip and going, this is what I wish they taught in schools. Maths really should be, this is how you make money. This is how you price jobs. This is how you work out interest rates. This is how you work on return on investment. That's what maths should be at school. I'm a big fan of that. I think that's what it should really be. I don't think maths should be how you work out all sorts of bullshit, stuff, and in science as well, they talk about how you work out and measure force and how you measure and do all sorts of stuff like algebra that just does not make any sense or have any bearings on business. Business lessons and maths at school should just be the basics of just, right, what does it cost you? This is how VAT works. This is how mortgages work. This is how leases work. This is how inflation works. All of this stuff. This is what the commercially savvy business person wants to know. And I think this is what it should be taught at schools. And this is why I'm passionate about giving out all this sort of information on podcasts and working with businesses doing this as well. We're going, let's just get commercially fucking switched on first. Step one. And funny enough, I'm going quite deep on this one, but I'm a big fan of it because it works. This is one of the businesses that I started working with a couple of weeks ago. The first step is, I don't want to meet the team. I don't care about the clients yet. I care about what's the numbers. Show me every single job you've done in the last year. Show me the accounts you've done for the last year. Let me look at all of the expenses. Let me look at all of the revenue streams. And let's look at the profitability of every single job. First and foremost, that is it. The rest of it is detail stuff, all from there. If you can't get that commercially awareness bit right first, the business doesn't exist anyway. So you have to get the numbers right first and look at things. And funny enough, I've looked at it and I've gone, okay, at the top there's too much expense, there's too much dead weight at the top. In the middle, in the actual jobs, there's not enough profitability. Some of the jobs are losing money, some of them are making more than others. Let's brush that up and refine that. And at the bottom as well, there's some stuff that's not quite right and it needs all brushing up and cutting out. And before you know it, you cut some stuff from the top, you improve the middle, you cut some stuff from the bottom. That business goes from minimal profitability and surviving to being very profitable because the commercial awareness is there and the commercial savviness of business fundamentals, numbers, knowing what you're fucking talking about is just there. So that's the biggest lesson to you guys listening to this. If you don't know your commercials, you're not very commercially switched on to all of that stuff that I've said about, that is what you need to get switched on to. And then number 9 that I've got here, the next point is stress management. Your level of success will be dictated by how much stress and shit you can take. And yes, it sort of links with grit, but grit, I sort of put it down to the day-to-day, the grim and bear it of getting through it. But stress management is when you go home and it's still in your head and you're trying to process it and deal it, because you know, people who've got very low stress management profiles, you're not going to make a good businessman. You're going to have to be able to deal with it and deal with the pressure on your shoulders and, have all that responsibility on your shoulders, but go home and turn it off and park it and be the family man and be a person at home and live your own life as well outside of business. But the next morning, wake up and turn it back on and the stress comes back, and you have to be very good at managing and dealing with that. So dealing with stress is a skill. It's a skill set of being able to deal with that level of stress and just management. And unfortunately, the only way you get good at dealing with stressful stuff is going through stressful stuff. The saying goes, good sailors are not made in calm seas. Good sailors are made in rough seas. You have to go through a bit of shit and stressful times and turbulence to get good at it. It's the only way you get good at it. Any skill you want, whether it's discipline or consistency, the only way to get good at them is by doing it. The only way to get good at being disciplined is by being disciplined. The only way to get good at being consistent is by being consistent and just doing the work. And the only way to get good at dealing with a lot of stress is by putting a lot of stress on yourself. And it's not a bad thing. Modern society, your friends and family will say, oh, why are you taking on all this stress? Why are you taking on all this burden? That's what average people say. High performers are willing to take on stress. They're willing to put their balls on the line. They're willing to put the step forward with not knowing all the answers and just dealing with it, handling it. And that ability on its own, stress management, when you're stressed, you'll know that you're growing. If you've got a lot of stress on you at the minute, you know that you are trying to push the boundaries a little bit. Now, sticking with the same stress is the problem. Sticking with a problem that's recurring over and over again, and you're constantly stressed out about the same thing, that is a problem. You're not being switched on to what's wrong. You've got to solve that problem and then move on to the next one. If you're someone that's had the same stress from the same sources for a long time, you're doing something wrong. You're not solving the problem that's right in front of you. You need to be in the mind of, okay, we're stressed out because we've got a lot going on here, but when we do X, Y, and Z, this will all be gone. It'll be dealt with, and we'll move on to the next thing. That is what stress management is. Stress management is not good when you're just dealing with the same shit over and over and over again, and you're not improving. You're not raising your standard. You're not being commercially aware, maybe, of what the fuck do we need to do to solve this problem, to remove that stress so that we can get a new stress from a new problem and a new growth spurt of the business, basically somewhere else we're trying to get to. Got to look at it in that way. And then lastly, number 10, you've got to be a builder of people. A good businessman brings good people to the party. You put the right people in the right positions, basically like being a football manager, putting the best strikers up front, putting the best midfield, the best defenders, the best goalie. They're all different parts of your business as well. You've got to be a developer of people, really good with people. It's leadership, it's gelling people together and being the glue of those people and getting the best out of them. If you can get the best out of your people, you'll get the best out of your business. Business is people at the end of the day. Yes, there's systems, there's processes, but you need good people to run those systems and processes. So you've got to be a builder of people, you've got to be a leader, and this is why I'm a big fan of setting the example and the standard yourself. I've done previous podcast episodes on that as well, with raising your own game as a leader. I think it's hypocritical for a leader to ask people to do stuff that you wouldn't do yourself and set a standard that you don't follow and adopt yourself. You've got to be bulletproof yourself. You've got to have no holes in you. You've got to be respected by way of that you've earned the respect from your staff, and you're setting the tone so that when you ask people to do stuff, it's no questions, they'll do it because you're the man and you live by it as well yourself. So it's very important. But building people is probably going to be one of the biggest, highest paying skill sets you bring to a business. If you can bring the right people into a situation, you're going to solve all of your problems and you're going to grow the business, because people do that. You can only do so much on your own. The best businesses and the best teams have got the best people on those teams, haven't they? People don't just fluke it. The very bottom of the league teams don't end up winning the World Cup with the worst people. It's the best teams that have developed the best culture. They've got a great leader in place, and they've got all the best people playing in the right positions, all gelling together and building those teams up. So that's, for me, is 10 key things that make a really good businessman. And that's it for this episode, guys. If you like the episode, please do share it, like and subscribe. We're growing as we push through. I just put up this morning on my Instagram that we've just crossed 5,000 downloads, and it's growing over time, and it's just that consistency and dedication. Again, the same skills I'm telling you guys, doing the same shit with this podcast. It's just doing the work, and just chipping away and keep growing it. So if you do like it, please do like and subscribe, let me know as well. And I'll see you on the next episode.